I now call the Snoqualmie City Council meeting to order. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Holloway, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'll ask the city clerk, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Jeans.
Here.
Councilmember Ross has requested to be excused this evening. Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Mayhew.
Present.
Councilmember Lassay.
Here.
Councilmember Sundwall.
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd. Here. Mayor Larson.
I am here. May I have a motion and a second to excuse Councilmember Ross from tonight's
So moved.
To excuse Councilmember Ross.
Second.
All right, motion and a second, as stated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any questions? Councilmember Shepherd?
Yeah, can we scroll up? I'd like to take a couple of things off the consent agenda. I would like to take the AB 19-49, AB 19-51, AB 19-53 off the consent agenda and warrants.
Okay, so everything but Agenda Bill 56 and 41.
Right.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion, council? Who,
Sean.
Oh, yeah, we need to add, certainly won't add it to the consent agenda. We need to add Agenda Bill 19-058 to the agenda, an emergency bill regarding some funding that we have a deadline to hit.
if there's no objection, we'll add that item. Any other items? Councilmember Holloway?
Point of order, Mayor. We pulled only the agenda bills except for 53?
The only thing that remains on the consent agenda are Agenda Bills 19-056 and 041. Everything else has been pulled.
I did not hear pulling of the warrants.
You missed it, she did.
She did? Okay.
And the minutes got pulled?
Oh, I'm sorry. The minutes were not pulled. Councilmember Shepherd, you did not pull the minutes. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. All right. If there's no further discussion then with those changes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right. With that, we'll move down to public hearings, presentations, proclamations, and appointment. First, we'll start with a proclamation. Whereas every day 100 Americans get killed by gun violence, and on average there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. Whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's highest responsibility. And whereas support for the Second Amendment right of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best and are most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June in 2019, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas by wearing orange on June 7th, 2019, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of the gun violence victims and survivors. And whereas renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now therefore, I, Mayor Matthew Larson, do hereby recognize the last Friday in June, June 7th, 2019, to be Gun Violence Awareness Day in Snoqualmie, and encourage all citizens to support efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. So I appreciate some folks coming out to represent that. We'll have a spokesman receive the proclamation and say a few words, but I did want to add, this kind of came home not only to the city of Snoqualmie, but to me personally, my family too, and that one of our employees or valued employees' wife was a victim in the Las Vegas shooting, or she was severely injured in the Las Vegas shooting, and they're still suffering immensely from that. And his wife just so happened to work for my wife's company. So on both sides of that equation, it sort of affected my wife and I. It's a serious issue, but thank you for your efforts. If you want to say a few words.
My name is Ashley McDonald, and we are from the Issaquah, Sammamish, Snoqualmie Valley Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America local chapter. We are a volunteer organization made up of moms, dads, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and community members, united to prevent gun deaths in our community. Some of us are gun owners and some of us are not. We are supporters of the Second Amendment, and some of us have personally experienced gun violence. All of us want to keep our families and communities safe from gun violence. First, we want to thank you, Mayor Larson, and everyone on the Snoqualmie City Council for your proclamation to make June 7th, 2019 Gun Violence Awareness Day for the city of Snoqualmie. National Gun Violence Awareness Day and the Wear Orange campaign is a nationwide movement to honor the 100 lives cut short and the hundreds more injured by gun violence across our nation every day. Wear Orange was started by the Project Orange Tree after the killing of Hadia Pendleton in Chicago in 2013. Orange is the color her friends, family, and members of the community wore to honor her memory and raise awareness about gun violence. What started with a group of young people honoring their friend has turned into a nationwide movement. Friday, June 7th is the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Thank you for recognizing it as an important day for our community. We invite you to wear orange to personally recognize the day, and we've brought orange ribbons for each of you. We also brought some information about a very special event happening on Sunday, June 9th at Sam Smith Park in Seattle at 10 a.m. We invite you all to join us and then march across the bridge if you so wish in honor of this event. Thank you very much for supporting our community. I've got pass down. There should be one for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and then next we have a presentation from some outside students. This is they're coming at it from a fresh perspective. I don't know that they were familiar with an effort about 3 years ago of renaming Meadowbrook Wildcat Way, and they asked me about it a few weeks ago. And I wasn't aware where they were at. The students now, they're coming to the close of the year, and we only have this one council meeting before they're kind of out for the school year, and there's a number of them that put an effort into this. So we made clear to them that there probably isn't a way to take, do immediate action, but it certainly would be, we want to hear the results of their efforts and queue up the subject matter that could be taken up by a reformed group when the school year starts again, and see where the council goes from there. So, yeah, we have Chirag Vedalapalli and Max Madani.
Yes.
Did I get it, guys?
You got it perfect. So first of all, we'd like to say thank you for making time on your agenda for us. We know you're very busy, and we really do appreciate, especially when adults are willing to hear a student voice. So this project, Wildcat Way proposal.
Gentlemen, can you recognize whoever else is here with your group?
Yes.
You're gonna get there. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say it, so.
Oh, sorry.
We're getting there. So we have two people that came with us, and hopefully, and the student body as well.
Yeah.
If you guys wanna
All of you
introduce-
stand up that are here to. Okay.
This is our awesome group.
All right.
You guys want to introduce yourself?
I'm Beth Hungerpiller. I'm Tara Dimitri.
Yeah, and they were by far so helpful in pushing us to make it happen, as well as Tyr was able to make this happen. So we're very thankful for her help. Okay, so we have a short presentation for you guys to explain why we think there's some options that we were thinking. No immediate action is going to happen. I think it's worth at least starting to talk about it and starting the discussion. So this is just the current road. So we just wanted to put that in there for the note. So why change? So we have a couple of reasons that we were brainstorming. So first, as you guys know, the new high school is being constructed. and we thought there's no better way to celebrate this new construction, and because it really is a community achievement of building this new educational building that's really state of the art for the entire east side, and really for Washington State. It was also made with Snoqualmie Valley tax dollars, so it would just be another, I guess, a cherry on top to really showcase the school spirit to the community. Also, since we are a one high school for this entire school district, including the Valley, this would be a great way to show that school spirit since the whole community is united around Mount Si. It also shows that the city cares for students. I think just recognizing student voice as well as acting on it. It's two different things, and acting on it really shows that adults are really thinking about the students and just younger people. And it also, when visitors are coming to a new school, it easily identifies where the parking lot is and how to get into the high school, which is always very helpful. So we talked to a couple individuals, parents, teachers, as well as some students. We got some cool testimonials, so Max.
So the first one was from Jill Wascom, the ASB advisor, and she said this is a great way to spread school spirit and pride throughout the community. Then we have a parent, and she said turning Meadowbrook into Wildcat Way would bring the community together and would be really exemplify how amazing the new school is. Then Parker, a student, he said Wildcat Way is the perfect finish for the new school and how it's a symbol for the Valley. Also, for years to come, the street will transition into the building. Here's a bunch of other schools that have done the same around the area.
So this is Skyline High School in Sammamish. So they have the original street name, and then they did more of a ceremonial touch by just calling it Spartan Way.
So it's still Southeast 10th, but
Yes.
has an overlay kind of honorary name. Okay.
Exactly.
Correct. And Bellevue High School did the same with Wolverine Way. And then Crusader Way for Eastside Catholic, they actually just made the street name Crusader Way.
Of course, that's a private road though, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And then Wolfpack Way for East Lake High School in Sammamish as well.
And then they did the honorary thing as well.
So we came with a couple options. Max is gonna pass them out like that. Perfect. So we just wanted to put some ideas out there in the air and see what you guys are all thinking. So we're really focused on just the area from the traffic light to the four-way stop sign at the bottom. Everything else that's Meadowbrook Way, we do not intend to change at all. So the first option, which we think is the best option, of course, is the full replacement, just renaming it to Wildcat Way. It basically lives up to all those reasons that we said earlier about how it shows school spirit. It's an easy identifier for where the high school is. And even another option is where you can really identify where the high school is if you put, it says like Mount Si with a little arrow there. We did our best with Word to make it look as accurate as possible. So that's another option. And then, as you see in the pictures, the third option is similar to, it's more ceremonial, and it still gets the message across as Wildcat Way, but then you don't have to deal with all the actual address changes from Meadowbrook to Wildcat Way, because some homeowners might not be as for it. And we just thought adding an image of the new school just to show you guys, if you guys hadn't seen it or been by it recently, what it's going to be looking like. It's an amazing project that is about to come to completion, and we thought that by kind of tying this, hopefully, at the same time as that project being ready to go in August for school, September for school, that would be a perfect touch to the start of the school year. So I think questions, comments, ideas, suggestions? Yes.
Councilmember Sunwell?
Thank you, Shrog, for coming in, and Max, appreciate that. I'm a Wildcat at heart. You guys probably know why. But my question for you is that, so Meadowbrook Way, as far as I know, goes all the way to the intersection by the casino, and then goes all the way to the sycamore trees, or does it stop at the bridge?
Other side of the bridge, yeah.
Other side of the bridge. And that bridge, I don't know if it's official name, but I refer to it as Meadowbrook Bridge. Would you propose changing the name of that as well, or would you have this Meadowbrook, not Meadowbrook, Meadowbrook configuration?
I think in one of the options, it would be Meadowbrook just the street of Mount Si, where like the parking lot and like the main office and all of that's attached to, would be called Wildcat Way, and then the rest of it would be Meadowbrook, because the Meadowbrook Bridge is, to all the students and like just the valley itself is really special. But then there's one of those options where you can attach Wildcat Way just to the sign for the street, and then it can still be called Meadowbrook Way, the entire way, but also have the Wildcat Way school spirit attached to it.
Regardless, if I followed the slide, you were suggesting just from the 202 to Park Street would be any one of those designations would only apply to that section, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Councilmember Jeans? And then-
So you fellows have done a nice job of expressing what you feel is the voice of the student body. Have you talked to the principal and the superintendent? Have you talked to the administration? Do they have a
Yes.
position on this?
Yeah, we have. They're all for it, and they've helped us out with this, and they really think that this change would be really cool to add to the new school and to be a part of the community.
And then I'm also a student rep on the school board, so I've talked to like all the council members, or the school board members. They're all for it. They are very busy, and like all the admin is very busy with the new school, so they said if this is a project you guys are willing to take on the charge for, we will back you 100%, so, yeah.
Councilmember Shepherd?
So I don't remember this coming up as an item for us to discuss. Was this something that we talked about in a committee meeting, or?
Well, that's a good segue to my next comments to kind of wrap this up, and that is, this is jumped over the normal due processes, and again, as I stated at the beginning, this was only because the students had, they're coming to the end of the school year. This is the last council meeting for the school year. They didn't understand the processes. This would usually go to planning commission or a council committee prior to coming to council, so I said, you know what, I think the council would appreciate, just, we don't want to let the students feeling ignored. Bring your proposal and ideas forward, what you've been working on. Council can hear it. It's more likely it'll go into, we told them it was highly unlikely any action would be taken before the end of the school year or into the summer. It would more likely be a little pause while their group, because some of them are graduating, they're moving on. And then they'll probably reassemble at the beginning of the school year and then take it up again, I assume. Unless the council's so enthusiastic to say, get it going, send it back to planning commission, or let's have a council committee take it up, so.
Yes. Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, I just wanted
I'm sorry, you're able to join them at the podium, yeah.
Come on by.
And we'll have to wrap this up in a couple minutes.
Yeah, just quick, we started talking to city in some variety months ago, and we were directed to go, do you remember the name?
A spec
Yeah,
committee?
SPEC committee meeting.
I think it actually had a request from spec members to say, hey, can we take this up on the agenda? I said, sure, discuss it there, and then we could take it
Yeah,
forward.
so
from there,
we were initially planning to be at that meeting last week.
And it was canceled.
And it was canceled on us. So that was the channel we were advised to take, was to start there and then proceed. They canceled it because not enough commissioners could attend. So then they said, oh, come here for public comment. And at that point, I thought, well, boy, public comment's 3 minutes, and these guys change over ASB. They've been putting in all this time and effort in their busy part of their school year to make it work. So the mayor's office graciously said, okay, come present. But we weren't trying to skip any proper protocol.
No.
It's just kind of how it got channeled.
And of course, we weren't thinking on the timeline of a school year that there'd be kind of a dead
And-
stop kind of come into.
I've talked to them, and they're willing, we can look at dates and see if we are able to attend meetings through the summer to follow the proper procedure. We would love to try and do that if it's something that would help it get passed maybe in time for the school year to open. So we're open to trying to work with the dates that are set.
Can we push this over to community development?
We could do it to community development, or normally the naming protocols go through the community, or the planning commission. You could kick it to the planning commission and ask that they take it up on their agenda.
Awesome.
Council okay with that?
It needs a motion.
What's that?
It would need a motion.
I move that we kick it over to planning commission.
Okay. But Councilmember Shepherd has moved that it be sent to the planning commission to start.
Second.
The conversation. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, guys.
Thank you guys for your
Thank
time.
you very much.
And Mark, raise your hand back there. He's their community development director and kind of runs the planning commission issues on the staff side of it, so you could touch base with him in terms of what the schedules are and what you need to do to get on the agenda. All right? Okay, with that, move on to citizens' comments. At this time, we'll provide time for citizens to comment on items not on the agenda. First, a few ground rules. One, Snoqualmie citizens who are not present have a right to have their elected representatives perform their duties on behalf of the city in an efficient and orderly manner. Therefore, comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Please wait to be recognized. Come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Direct your comments to the council as a whole and not to individual members. In order to protect the privacy rights of employees and to protect members of the public from legal liability, please note that this is not an appropriate venue to make complaints or accusations about an implied or named city employee or agent. Such oral comments will not be allowed but can be submitted in writing to the city clerk. Please note that this is not a time to ask questions of the council, mayor, or staff, or to engage in debate. The council will quietly and respectfully listen to your concerns. And last, please respect the decorum of these proceedings, as all due respect be afforded you. And then one that I'm going to add now, because we just finished the campaign filing season last week, the Public Disclosure Commission rules do not allow folks to use public resources for political purposes. So I will not allow comments that start quickly sounding more like a campaign speech or the use of videos then from this that are used for political campaigns. So I'll be cutting off any of that kind of behavior as well. Let's try to keep the campaigns out of this room and just respect the decorum of the council chambers. So with that, warm greeting. Is there anybody else that dares speak? Oh, there are sign-up sheets over there, but again, if you haven't, I don't know if any staff or, Fuzzy, can you take a look at that? Is there anyone's name on that? No name. All right, thank you. All right, is there anybody that didn't have a chance to sign up? That's okay, Fuzzy, don't worry about it.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody that would like to speak at this time? All right. Seeing no one move forward, we will move on to what's left of the consent agenda. We have the minutes for the May 13th, 2019 City Council meeting, and other approvals include Agenda Bill 19056, Resolution 1497, declaring surplus property and authorizing the sale of surplus property, and Agenda Bill 19041, amendment to the interlocal agreement between the cities of Issaquah, Snoqualmie, and North Bend for police dispatch and records management services. Do I have a motion, council?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as stated. Is there any discussion? Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on these items prior to action? Anna.
Sorry, my readers are a little too strong. Anna Sotelo, 7117 Allman Avenue South. So I was concerned about, item AB 19051.
051 was pulled from the consent agenda.
Pulled, and the other one, 049 as well? 049 was pulled?
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to comment at this time on any of these items? All right, seeing no one move forward, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. With that, we move on to ordinances. Agenda Bill 19048, ordinance amending ordinance 1210, adopting the 2019-2020 biennium budget. This was introduced on the 13th and is ready for action tonight. Summary statement is already, summary statement's already been written in, so if you could just read the motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, point of order.
Sorry, point of order. On the agenda list of ordinances are the order of Parks and Public Works, Community Development, then Finance, F&A. I believe some
thank
of
you.
those agenda bills that were pulled should go under those categories prior to.
That was in the back of my mind once I started reading. I had to go up and see which, if any, were ordinances. Thank you for the reminder. Let's go ahead and do this one, and then I'll come back.
All right, move to adopt ordinance number
1213.
1213, amending ordinance 1210, adopting the 2019-2020 biennial budget. May I have a second?
Second.
Motion a second to adopt Agenda Bill 19048 as stated by Councilmember Holloway. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, is any discussion, Council? Councilmember Shepherd.
So I noticed that it looks like in one of the columns, it's looks like the 268,000 has doubled up under a couple of categories. If you can pull up the table.
I thought that question was already addressed at a committee meeting you were at, was it not?
I don't know.
So due to the fact of
Councilmember Holloway?
accounting methodology, it appears as an expenditure out of the reserve fund, as revenue into the receiving fund, and then again as an expenditure as the expense is paid. Again, this activity is really to pay for incurred activities during the snow event to the sum of $268,031. and is pulling out of our emergency reserve.
It's just the way that it looks in the table. It looks like it's over 500,000.
Correct.
And I think in one of the documents, I think the staff report, it probably also says it as 500,000.
I think Councilmember Holloway explained the situation clearly. Any other discussion, council, or questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, motion passes. All right. If you can get me more quickly there, Councilmember Losay, let's go ahead and back up and grab which are resolutions, which are amendments that were, or ordinances that were pulled.
I believe Parks and Public Works are AB 049 and AB
I think they're-
051 and 49.
I think those are all resolutions.
Are they?
Sewer participation easements and the fireworks stand permit.
None of them are resolutions. They go down under.
Okay, then they're all resolutions. You just said they're not
They're not
Are they?
resolutions.
Remember that?
Okay, hang on, we're having a hiccup in semantics or something. If they go into reports, they're resolutions, but you're telling me they're not resolutions.
No, they're not resolutions.
Then they're ordinances.
No, they're just
Ordinances.
agreements.
Okay, they're not resolutions, they're not ordinances, they're just agreements. But they still belong under reports, they don't belong
They're
under
not
ordinances.
ordinances.
Good, that's a good point.
All right. Councilmember Sunwell.
Quick question, is it appropriate for me to ask for clarification on how an individual voted on a prior matter?
Clarification as to why they voted?
Yeah.
Not at this time.
Okay.
You could privately ask that if you'd like. Okay. All right, well, again, we'll pick those up under reports.
Those are reports.
Agenda Bill 19, under Finance Administration Committee, under ordinances, Agenda Bill 19057, ordinance amending Chapter 2.90 of the Snoqualmie Municipal Code, delegating authority to sign certain minor contracts and emergency contracts without prior city council approval, adopting a comprehensive purchasing, professional services, and public works contract matrix, and providing for severability and an effective date. This is only for introduction tonight, so if you could just read the summary statement.
Pursuant to 35A .11.020 RCW, the city of Snoqualmie is authorized to contract and be contracted with, by, and through the city council acting as the city's legislative body. It would promote efficiency in government for the city council to amend the Snoqualmie Municipal Code provisions pertaining to the purchasing and contracting, to delegate authority to city staff to assign certain minor contracts without prior city council approval, to increase the dollar amount for other minor contracts that the mayor or city administrator may execute without prior city council approval, and to adopt a comprehensive matrix specifying the dollar amounts, the applicable competitive process, if any, and applicable signature approval authority for purchasing, professional service, and public work contracts, including any contracts awarded via use of the small works roster, and to adopt updated vendor purchasing list and small works rosters procedures.
Okay, as stated before, this is only for introduction tonight. However, are there any questions or comments from the public prior to possible future action? Anna?
Anna Sotelo, 7117 Almond Avenue Southeast. I really like this. You know, I had sat through many meetings about it, and it sounded good until the last F&A meeting. And my concern was kind of what got pulled off, the same reason, because I don't think if there's a good enough knowledge of scope of works and reporting back on scope of works, then I'm a little more concerned about giving kind of this faith and trust of being able to spend more than what had already been designated. I guess to try to explain it a little better. So for example, quarterly reports, we're almost at the end of the second quarter. And you guys haven't even seen a quarterly report. So I feel like we're kind of jumping the gun with giving this leap of faith when some ends of the bargain haven't been held up. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Anna. Anyone else? All right. Before I move on with further discussion, I should have said it earlier, no one's expecting you guys to hang around. And as exciting and as captivating as this is, whether it's the students or the MDA folks here, Just want to give you an excuse to go ahead and leave if you want with the.
They painted the building across the street. If you want to watch that paint dry, you're welcome.
All right, thanks again for coming, yeah. All right, council, any discussion on this item, or?
See you, Rob.
Councilmember Holloway and Councilmember Shepherd.
Okay, I would like to know, I mean, in our U.S. form of government, it's check and balances. And as the summary statement states, this is a delegation from council to the administration and mayor. So a particular point, I would like each council member to look at the matrix that's in the ordinance. And this is really where your comfort zone, where the council's comfort zone is in that delegation is represented in that dollar figure. So take a look at it and think, is that my comfort level? Is there something more or something less? And let's seriously have a conversation along those lines.
Councilmember Shepherd.
So I noticed that one of the categories says personal as one of the, and I couldn't figure out what was personal, so I went to MRSC and I saw that another similar matrix, and they have the word professional instead of personal, and I'm just wondering if that word personal should actually be the word professional in the matrix.
Where in the matrix?
Well, if you can open it up, I don't,
It's the category, I'm sorry.
I thought James was coming up to answer that, and then he hid to the back of the room again. Can I have one of the staff that's been working on this come up and speak to it, please?
Yeah, I can take a look at it.
Oh, or Bob, yeah, go ahead. You want Bob to do it, James, or you want to take it?
I can do it really quick.
All right.
Just personal services was meant to capture both professional services and A&E. So professional services really incorporates everything but A&E. So I was just combining those two into a different worded category, larger category. So that was the intent of that.
and then I also have a question about, we have taken out IT categories, and I'm just curious, is that normal? Or, because I looked at another one from another city and they don't have that category. And
Right. IT is separated because they have a separate process that they can follow if they desire. So that's why it's separated out that other contracts don't apply to.
Can you be more specific about?
If you could pull it up.
It's actually identified in the matrix. There's a statutory process that requires an RFQ, a qualifications type proposal process for electronic data processing and telecommunications equipment. And it's specific to those type, and that covers many of the types of equipment that the IT department might be purchasing. They may also want to purchase professional services, which would be different, but that's why they're broken out into a separate category.
So I guess I had a number of notes that I went through. Should I just email this to you guys, or is that what we're doing, or do we want to talk about it in the council meeting?
If we want to have an in-depth discussion, I'd recommend email it to the rest of the councils. We should have a discussion in F&A to.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Councilmember Holloway, I like that.
Okay.
Councilmember Losay?
As someone who works in the A&E services realm and is a licensed professional, I don't want to say I take offense to the personal services reference. I do. I provide professional services as a licensed architect.
Okay.
I would strongly encourage staff to recognize that as the MRSC has and call that professional services.
And we do. Those are architect, lawyer, engineer, those are among the kinds of services we would consider professional services, whereas perhaps someone who would facilitate a meeting or a retreat or provide repair services for entry door hardware at City Hall, that would be in the nature of personal services, probably more than quote-unquote professional services.
As a category encompassing two areas, I would just call it services and go that route. But I am inclined to not support it.
We take the word personal very personally.
And yeah, I do too.
Yeah. I'm kidding. I don't think we're going to fall on our swords over that.
Don't want to dwell on it. I'm asking, please.
You could do professional/personal or services, or I'm fine with whatever. Councilmember Mayhew?
I move that we change the word from personal services to personal and A&E services.
I don't hear a second.
Or not.
So it's going to die for lack of a second in about 1, 2, 3. So.
Well, can we
All
define
right,
what they mean?
Councilmember Holloway.
So I guess I would like to move to change personal services to purchased services and leave it at that.
Second.
Motion and a second, although I didn't hear the word motion, to change it to, what was it?
Purchased services.
Purchase services. All right. Any discussion, council? Does the staff have any heartburn over that term? Okay, we're all happy?
All happy.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Yeah. All right. Any further discussion on the original agenda bill at this time? All right. Thanks, James. With that, we will move on to Public Safety Committee. Agenda Bill 19047, ordinance amending Snoqualmie Municipal Code, Section 10.35.040, to require the wearing of a helmet while operating any wheeled device on city property and providing for severability and an effective date. This was introduced on the 13th and is ready for action tonight.
So just read the recommended motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Move to adopt ordinance number
1214.
1214, amending Snoqualmie Municipal Code Section 10.35.040 to require the wearing of helmets while operating any wheeled device on city property and providing for the severability and an effective date.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 19047 as stated by Councilmember Jeans. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, any discussion, council? All right. Seeing
So,
Councilmember Sumwell.
thank you. It currently reads city property, we're adding what? Refresh my memory. We're amending this to read,
At the time this ordinance was really originally written, there were little to no city parks, and so it didn't specify some of those other city property or common areas. And so this is now encompassing all city parks. I suppose it would even be the open spaces and trails with mountain bike trails.
Says any city property, and this it's
Yeah.
specifically adding, or any city property, including parks.
Including streets?
Before it was only streets, alleys, and so
Sidewalks,
forth.
yeah.
It's essentially expanding the helmet requirement from streets, alleys, sidewalks to streets, alleys, sidewalks, and parks or other kinds of city property.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, moving on to reports. Parks and Public Works Committee. We have the agenda bill that was added, Agenda Bill 19058, in hard copy on your table. If I have the chair of the Parks and Public Works Committee, please read that in.
yeah. The city has applied for and received an approximately $547,168 in federal grant allocated through the Puget Sound Regional Council and administered by the Washington State Department of Transportation. In order to obligate the federal funds, the city must execute a local agency federal aid project prospectus. That's amazing. Describing the project and setting forth the local agency, match, and federal fund amounts for the preliminary engineering phase of the project and enter into a local agency agreement with WashDOT in which the city accepts and agrees to comply with the local agency agreement requirements during the course of the project. Moved to adopt Resolution 1498, accepting and agreeing to comply with Washington State Department of Transportation Local Agency Agreement for Downtown Redevelopment Project Phase 3A.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Agenda Bill 19058 as stated by Councilmember Sunwell. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, any discussion, council?
Maybe Dan could tell me what I just read?
What you just read was that we need approval, we need the mayor to sign two agreements, the local agency agreement and the project prospectus, so that we can submit the funding package to WashDOT so we can get the money for Town Center Phase 3 project.
Okay. And why is this an emergency?
Well, because we need to get it to them by the 1st of June. That's when well, actually, we need to get it to them tomorrow, so WashDOT can give it to PSRC by the 1st of June, so we can get obligation. That was our deadline. The reason it's late is because I didn't know that it needed council approval.
And what happened was July of 18, we came to council. We asked you guys for approval to submit for the grant. And then going through that approval, the STIP and the CIP, and working with Jeff, he's still semi-new. I wasn't watching him daily. And we all have our workload, so we're in front of you because we do have a June 1st date. But we have a $85,000 ask. We worked with finance, and I believe total is, for the 85, we'll get 597, 600?
Yeah,
Somewhere in there.
547,000.
547. So we're going through little bumps and bruises. We'll get there.
Is the 85,000 currently in the budget?
Yes, it is.
It is, and we're not asking for it now. We'll come forward with another motion later when it's time to get the money.
After PSRC.
Yeah, after we get the funding package submitted and obligated.
Yeah, but when my wife brought the dog home, she said I didn't have to buy the dog food now, okay? But eventually the bill comes due. So I just want to know if we got the 85,000 planned. All right.
Okay, any further discussion, council? All right. Councilmember Shepherd.
So what can we do in the future to prevent this from coming at us at the last minute?
I've been doing this for 10 years. This is the first one that's come to you as last minute. It won't happen again.
Or at least not for 10 years.
Thanks, Mayor.
I guess
One per 10 years.
I guess I just remember the STIP coming through or transportation plan coming through, and it seemed like there was not a whole lot of time to think about that one either.
The STIP we do in June, so that'll be coming forth next meeting or two here in June at committee.
Okay.
So with Brian Coleman, our engineer.
So the grant that we got for this, was it exclusively for this type of application, or could it
Yes.
have been used for something else?
This project and this application for the PE, what we call the preliminary engineering phase.
This is, we already made this decision a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Like
We did.
several years ago or something?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Councilmember Mayhew.
So I appreciate there's just an oversight here, and we're just trying to correct that so you guys can stay on timeline. But I do want to just pick up the comment made by my fellow council member about the STIP. And just the general thing to think about is, please don't bring us things on a timeline such that we have no choice but to approve something on the night you present it. So just build your timeline such that if the council, for example, had some concern, wanted to send it back to a committee and have it come back in 2 weeks, that actually is an option we have. So I'm not accusing you of not doing that. I'm just saying if you keep that in mind, that'd be great.
Never our intent.
I
Really isn't.
understand, so,
Yeah.
but if you just kind of would add that to kind of your thing, just to make sure you always give us time, I, for one, would appreciate it.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, of course, please understand, in this case, we didn't think this required council approval, so they weren't doing that timeline.
Yeah, I completely understand what happened here, and but
In excess of caution, I directed that it go that way, especially if we had the advantage of a council meeting to use, so. All right, any further discussion, council? All right, all those, Councilman Say.
Just a quick question. Quite a sizable grant. Are there additional funds that are needed to necessary to complete the work in Phase 3A? Or is the
Yes,
grant
absolutely.
covering
Yeah,
everything?
there's the whole construction phase, which is, another $7 million, which we'll have to apply for, which we actually have just applied for, and we'll receive word, I think, the first week of June, whether or not we get that grant. And that will be for the construction phase.
Okay, so
And then
this $547,168 federal grant is for the design phase, of which we still need to come up with the 80...
Our match, yes.
Yeah, the
85,000, which is
85,000 roughly.
13.5%.
Okay, and then there'll be an additional, is that accounted for then in the, it's not a bond project, it's the,
Not CIP.
in the,
It'd be in the
Why am I
capital
drawing a
improvement
blank?
plan.
Capital
So-
improvement plan, thank you, yes.
It was in the capital improvement plan in 2014. It is not in this one, but we do have the funds available for it.
How?
So it has been targeted.
Councilmember Shepherd?
I guess, is there something on the website for us to drill into this? Because it sounds like there's a lot more to it than what we have time to look at right now. Do we have, like the prospectus, whatever rough you have that you're sending in?
In
Is
fact,
it
I think
some-
you have the prospectus in the
Is it
packet.
on, but is it like on the Public Works website where we can go and see what projects you're working on and we can drill into it there?
I think we do have a lot of information on it, especially from past council meetings, but I can provide you additional information, whatever you need to see.
I was just thinking for, if the public wants to see pretty pictures. I saw a couple
Right.
of pretty
We can work
pictures.
with communications.
Okay.
Councilmember Summel?
So, sounds like there's a lot of unanswered questions here, so it sounds like you guys need us to approve this so that we can get more than $500,000 in federal grant, but we do have the opportunity to revisit this in more detail, at which point we could say, no thanks, and then we just give the money back.
We
I'm
can
not
always,
suggesting we'll do that, I just want to make sure that we're just committing you to go say, sure, give us money.
we can always decline at a future date. We can bring it back to committee. We can have Jeff come in the next meeting or two and go through a thorough
Okay,
update with you if you like.
okay, thank you.
Well, yes.
Councilmember Holloway?
I saw his hand raised somewhere.
Please come next committee, because I'd like to hear about the 85,000.
Okay.
You had me, and then you confused me, so let's have a discussion tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Any other discussion or question, council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, before we move on, I'm remiss, I want to recognize, or at least to figure out who's in the audience. Although I know this is a big teen hangout and teens love to come to council meetings, we seem to have an excessive number of young men and women here in the audience tonight. I thought most of you were with the Meadowbrook Way issue tonight, but what are you? Are you a class, or what's going on? Were you punished by your parents, or? Science class. Political science class, okay. So part of civic engagement and so forth? Okay. Same with you guys over here? Everybody put their hand up, that's part of the civic science classes, okay, great. And who are the teachers? Oh, you guys are all on your own tonight, wow.
Unchaperoned trip, oh.
Well,
You sure this wasn't consequence for a food fight in Wildcat Court?
I mean, it's college, so no, probably not.
Oh, okay, college.
So you guys are a special guest this evening, which means we kind of follow real strict Robert's Rules of Orders to be fair and equitable to all, but I give you a lot of latitude and dispensation, so if at some point any of you want to have a question or comment, raise your hand, just if anything, just to break the boredom. Feel welcome to come up to the podium, and you can just say, why are you doing this, or what's this issue about, and we'll spend a little time to dig into that, okay, because I love what you guys are doing tonight. All right, but welcome, really thrilled to have you here. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Councilmember Shepherd.
Can we find out what's your class that you're taking? What's the name of it?
Political Science 202 with Clifford Toffel, I think most of us.
At Bellevue College, yeah.
Bellevue College.
Cool.
Is this for BC or for real BC?
For BC, like Running Start.
Like Running Start?
Running Start,
Okay.
yeah. Great. Well, very cool. So the class actually encouraged you to go to a council meeting or a local government meeting or something?
It's homework. It's great.
Oh, so you have to be here, yeah. Okay. All right. Just when I was feeling really good about it. No, that's good. I still feel good about it, guys. I'm thrilled you're here. All right. We'll try and stir it up and make it exciting. Well, maybe not so much.
With AB 19049, that's going to get them going.
Yeah, let's start with the sewer agreements. All right, next, Agenda Bill 19049, Sewer Participation Easement Agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and Mr. Joseph G. Illig and Mrs. Kim T. Illig regarding King County Tax Parcel 3728300280.
Mr. and Mrs. Illig. Is that right? There's a lot of I's and L's in there. Mr. and Mrs. Illig requested sewer service from the city for the property located at 38028 Southeast 88th, parcel number, really long number, located in unincorporated King County. Snoqualmie Municipal Code allows properties to be connected to the sewer system and served when the owner executes a standard participation contract and the city council concurs. Authorizing the sewer participation agreement will allow city staff to issue a utility permit and issue the certificate of sewer availability as needed. Move to approve sewer participation and easement agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and Mr. Joseph G. Illig and Mrs. Kim T. Illig regarding King County Tax Parcel 3728300280 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Having a motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 19049 as stated by Councilmember Sunwell. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this very exciting agenda bill prior to action? Anna. Anna.
Todd.
Anna, you've been called to the podium. Go ahead.
Listen, Tom, we can do a duet. I'm Cher. Anna Sotelo, 7117 Almond Avenue Southeast. So kind of going into my second year of attending these committee meetings, I started just hearing things that would or wouldn't come back, and I've kind of been just kind of waiting for them, or they've been, and now I kind of feel like last week's meeting really was kind of like an empty puzzle piece, or maybe the right puzzle piece, that I'm just concerned because Tom Holmes was really, really adamant. And first I wanted to just kind of say, I don't have any problem with people hooking. I mean, that's not my issue. My concern is that I'm just hearing conflicting information because Tom Holmes said that our water plant can take on these new people. But last November, there was a scope approved by the council on 11/26/2018, and Todd had come and said that it was really crucial to get this scope of work because of the stormwater drains. So when I brought this up at committee meeting last week, it was confusing to me because if the pipe's not big enough to get it to there, then aren't we doing a problem? And I haven't seen anything come back about that scope of work. So did we figure that out? Which kind of leads me to believe is like, who's kind of like monitoring these kind of scope of works and everything, and who, like in the committee? Because I'm just starting to notice these kind of things. So it's just a concern to me. Before you approve this, I'd just like to know that you guys have all looked into that. And then the 384th, it's just confusing how all of a sudden these projects seem to be coming about. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Anna. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time to this issue? All right, thank you. Go ahead, Todd. Todd, I think there might have been a mix-up on storm versus sewer pipes and capacities, or even water perhaps.
I'm talking about sewer.
Okay. Go ahead.
For the record, Todd Saxberg, Operations Manager, Utilities. And yes, I did come back with that a while back with the stormwater. This is sewer. What we're talking about here is staff has determined that the nearby sewer pipe has capacity as defined by the 2012 General Sewer Plan, provided the city allows for a 1-foot surcharge. And I think what's important here for me is to describe what a surcharge is. What you have is a 6-foot manhole. That's 16H out at Roberts Court. You got a 6-foot manhole with about an 8-inch pipe in it. And when you get a surcharge, that 8-inch pipe, 4 inches above that pipe is water still running, and it slows it down a little bit. That's what a surcharge is. So you've still got another 5 feet in that manhole. So I think it's important to describe that's what a surcharge means in all of that.
Todd, if you could address the council, please.
Talk to us.
That's what a surcharge is.
All right. See the cool stuff you guys are learning that your friends don't know? All right. Any questions, concerns, discussions, council? Councilmember Shepherd, you pulled this. What was your concern?
Well, my concern is that we don't have, or I don't know where to look, probably, as far as what our capacity is versus what our actual use is, and what our availability is, and how many other residents would like to attach to or use our sewer system.
Councilmember Shepherd, are you talking water capacity? You just said water capacity.
Sewer system.
Okay, I just clarified because you said water capacity. Did you mean sewer capacity?
I'm sorry, I meant sewer. So, yeah, I'd just like to see What's our total capacity? What's currently being used? How many people are interested in using it that aren't attached yet? Just, I'd like to see some of that information. I've never seen any of that information. And
Well, I can tell you that right now, Council Member Shepherd. Right now, influent to the sewer in the rainy season hits about 1.7 MGD, and we have a capacity of 2.15 MGD.
Million gallons a day.
Million gallons a day, sorry.
Okay.
Got to watch the acronyms. So that's where we're currently at.
I know at one point, my daughter was interested in attaching to the sewer. She was outside city limits. And this is when Nancy Davidson was here, and they said that there was a concern about her being able to attach to the sewer system.
Okay, Todd, there's two different capacity issues. There's one about the size of a pipe in any given neighborhood, especially historical ones, and one is capacity at the sewer plant. So we might have massive capacity at the sewer plant, but there might be one neighborhood that has issues because a pipe is too small. Is that, so maybe those distinctions would help?
Yes, that is the distinction. I think your question was capacity at the sewer plant, and I think Anna's question was more to do with capacity at the manhole 16H, there where we allow a 1-foot surcharge. So you've got a 6-foot manhole there, water's running through it, got an 8-inch pipe, 4 inches above that, you've still got flow. So what it does is it slows it down a little bit. Imagine a good analogy would be you've got a garden hose and you've got it just trickling out, or you've got it all the way full. So when the rain is coming down at the very hardest point that it does out there, we went out and pulled the manhole at 16H and looked at it, and it was 3/4 of the way full.
16H.
That's the one that's described in the
I think the short story, guys, just for the sake of time, is further analysis and study has been done since perhaps her daughter was talking about connection, and the determination from the staff is there's capacity to serve these two homes, correct?
Yes.
All right,
Can
thank
we
you.
have access to that analysis or not?
That analysis is still being worked on right now. That's that was in the CIP, the 384th design that I brought to council, what was it, 3 months ago? I think it was $65,000. And what we're looking at is, it appears when you look at the grade line out there, that about 100 feet of that sewer line, because of the glacial till that we use, that we have underneath, has tilted back about 1 degree this way, back towards Snoqualmie Point Park, which is what's causing the surcharge. So we're going to finish that analysis, move forward on the CIP project next year, and tilt that pipe back up and rebed it underneath, and that'll fix that problem.
Dan, did you want to say something before I kick it to Councilmember Holloway, or add to that? Or?
The two you have in front of you tonight, we have plenty capacity at the plant. We have no issues with the capacity within the pipe. Your surcharge is very common within a sanitary sewer system, and we have no issues at all working with, we have a King County franchise agreement from 2001, I want to say.
2003.
2003. And so we can connect people. This is along the Schedule A, B, and C line that the Snoqualmie Casino installed. That was the reason for the delay when Operations Manager Davidson was here. Everything's complete, and we're ready to accept the flows, or the connections as they come forward. So these two individuals that are before you tonight, we have no issues bringing them forward to you and connecting at this time.
Councilmember Holloway.
So I really think we're getting into a comp plan discussion. I believe the comp plan will define what sewer capacity we need to be planning to, and you define outline light what capacity we currently have. I would ask that we have that discussion in Parks and Public Works, but it is probably not germane to these specific houses or these specific requests, in that you have capacity, you've done the analysis of a local level of that capacity and the issues with that, and you have capacity for this. It'd be good to get these people on sewer versus a septic system, which is not necessarily
Correct.
the best way of doing this.
Or agreed.
Correct.
So, I'll relinquish my floor to Councilman Lissay.
Councilmember Holloway asked my question and responded the same way I was going to respond, so you covered it.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Councilmember Mayhew.
Well, I'm just curious, why does this have to come before the council? Why is staff not able to just proceed with this?
The code calls for council approval of the standard participation contract for potential sewer users who are outside of city limits.
Whose code?
The city code, the municipal code in Title 13.
So we could change that.
The council could change that, correct?
So this, just to be clear, this is within our current comp plan, our current approved
Yes.
comp plan, I guess it would be. There's nothing extraordinary about this. The only reason we're seeing this is simply because procedurally you're required to bring
Non-residents.
us, not because there's something
Correct.
unplanned or unusual about it.
No, nothing unusual at all, except that it's in King County and it's in our Snoqualmie Municipal Code at 13.04.320.
But you're saying that's unusual?
No.
No.
Right.
We can
Okay.
change that.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, motion is carried. Agenda Bill 19051, sewer participation easement agreement between the city of Snoqualmie and Mr. Paul D. Washburn and Mrs. Cindy L. Washburn regarding King County tax parcel 312-408-9102.
Paul requested sewer service from the city for the property located at 8209 384th Avenue Southeast with also a long parcel number located in unincorporated King County. Snoqualmie Municipal Code, same one, allows properties to be connected to the sewer system and served when the owner executes a standard participation contract and the city council concurs. Authorizing the sewer participation agreement will allow city staff to issue a utility permit and issue the certificate of sewer availability as needed. Move to approve sewer participation easement agreement between City of Snoqualmie, Mr. Paul D. Washburn, and Mrs. Cindy L. Washburn regarding King County tax parcel 312-408-9102 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
All right, motion is second, as stated by Councilmember Sunwell. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to this? Anna?
Anna Sotelo, 7117 Almond Avenue Southeast. And again, I just want to reiterate, I agree with people on septic hooking up. I think that it's the right thing to do. And this is only on my radar because I guess I challenge all of you guys to watch that 11/26 meeting for Agenda Bill 18-124, because you'll hear how Todd was very adamant about this scope of work being done for future hookups. And I guess I have to point out that in the committee meeting last week, Councilmember Holloway, because someone asked him, how often does this even come up? Because Councilmember Mayhew's comment about why is this even coming to council, that kind of came up at the committee meeting. And Councilmember Holloway said, honestly, this is the most frequent time it's been coming up. And that's what keeps going off in my mind, is that this is all kind of coming up at the same time. I'm going to challenge where Dan Marcinko said that that's been completed, because in that same meeting, Mayor Larson was adamant about that he thought that that had been completed by the casino mitigation money, and it was established that it had not. So I guess my concern is I keep seeing items like this from the 2015 CIP list that never maybe got completed. And I keep seeing kind of the pattern of it coming back now to let's complete it, because I think that there's a timeline of other grants that are out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment on this item? All right, council, any discussion, any questions? This is pretty much verbatim from the last one we just discussed, all the fundamental elements. Unless there's something shockingly different here, Todd.
Nothing different.
Okay. Councilmember Shepherd.
The other question I have is, how many homes will this accommodate?
Mr. Washburn's?
See,
Mr. Washburn is considering building an ADU.
Oh.
Accessory dwelling.
Accessory dwelling unit, sorry.
Okay.
He's considering building an ADU, and we've had long discussions about that he's going to have to pay another GFC for that.
General facility charge.
General facility charge, sorry. And
so the short answer is 2, right?
2, According to the building code, an
Let's just-
ADU is considered another residence.
That would be 3?
No, just 2.
All right, so let's just go with the answer 2.
2.
All right. Any further questions or discussion, council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, motion is carried. With that, we will move on to the,
Don't forget the fireworks stand.
I know, it comes under public safety. Don't let me list that when I get down there.
Oh, public safety.
I'm sorry, is there any other report for Parks and Public Works Committee?
No.
Community Development Committee, any report?
Are we doing this agenda bill?
We have an
Yes.
agenda bill, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the ordinances still. Agenda Bill 19054, approval of Lodging Tax Advisory Committee recommendations for spring 2019 funding allocations.
Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, LTAC, is responsible for requesting, receiving, and evaluating applications, requesting funds for tourism-related programs in Snoqualmie, determining eligibility of the applicants, and providing a recommendation of hotel motel tax allocations to the City Council. According to RCW 67.28.1816, Section 2BII, the municipality may choose only recipients from the list of candidates and recommended amounts provided by the local Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. Move to approve Lodging Tax Advisory Committee recommendation for spring 2019 funding allocations.
Second.
Motion is second to approve Agenda Bill 19054 as stated by Councilmember Mayhew. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? See no one move forward. Councilmember Summerall?
I'd like to make a motion to strike from that the Snoqualmie Valley Chamber of Commerce, $8,160. That was an error that needs to be withdrawn per the email threads from Carolyn and
I'm just waiting for a second.
others.
Second?
Motion is second as stated by Councilmember Sunwall to strike the Chamber of Commerce piece on the host program over at the Falls. Any discussion, council, on that item?
Is there a reason?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why that was pulled? Is there something?
Yeah, so they had originally, Joan might need to help me on this, but they had originally put together a bid for kiosks as, now I'm going to let you do it.
There was our regular allocation, Mark Hoffman, Community Development Director, our regular allocation and meeting of the LTAC Committee in October. We had a mid-year request for the visitor center, and in that mix, there was a prior chamber request for a kiosk that was considered and not recommended. So that closed that out. Subsequent to that, another mid-year request came in the form of an email with 2 attachments. We considered both of them to be new mid-year requests. Kelly at the chamber was then dealing with personal family matters, and none of our follow-up emails were responded to, the updates. We made it through the LTAC meeting representing the application, in which case the applicant is typically not there to advocate, or we invited them all, such as in October. So given that, we updated the Community Development Committee on all 3 of the requests, which LTAC recommended approval for. Subsequent to that, we got an email from the chamber saying, what is this chamber request item that's not officially requested? So we agreed with them we would pull it because it's not an official request. They don't have time to hire and manage them for summer 2019, but are interested in a longer-term discussion with our tourism plan for the future. So they don't want to do it this summer. They're interested in possibly doing it. The major changes prior to that, we had a separate chamber contract to do such thing for a series of years, not through LTAC. At some point, the chamber said, we need to stop that. We didn't have the bandwidth to carry it through last year and this year. And so this LTAC request would have been a different source of funding from city budget and contract with chamber to LTAC. So it was a confusion, miscommunication. We are facilitating the email that we did get. Now it's confirmed that it was not an official request for this item, but the other 2 are legitimate for the Historical Museum and the Downtown Boardwalk Kiosk. So we ask that the chamber host program be pulled and the other 2 go forward as recommended.
And just to add, we've done this program several years before, and have been very supportive of it, so there was no reason when they came, when we thought it was a request to do it again, that we would have said, no, we thought, great, do it again, we like the program.
Kelly's material said continuation. What was unclear to her was that there is a structural financing element change from city budget to LTEC, and she wasn't around to clarify that her inclusion of the attachment of the prior document was not actually a new mid-year request. At this moment, we know it was not a new mid-year request from the Chamber Board, and with conversations from Carolyn Simpson, we're asking to pull it tonight.
Councilman Holloway.
So we thought the applicant was applying, the applicant has since advised to not applying. I'd like to call the question on the motion.
Second.
All right. Question has been called on the motion. This requires a supermajority. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Back to the original motion. All those in favor?
Hold on.
Not the original motion, but thank you, the amended motion, or Councilmember Sunwall's motion to remove.
This is just housekeeping, but there's the comma is in the incorrect place on amount requested for the top one. It says 21,77. It's just a typo, I know, but we need to make sure that properly reflects the 2,177.
In the last column, the 2,177 is the recommended and requested amount for Snoqualmie Valley Historical Museum for their Wildcat exhibit, Go Wildcat exhibit.
Yeah.
And then the second one is 8,000.
No, hold on. I'm just saying, if you look to the left in the amount requested column, the comma's in the wrong place. I'm just.
Yeah, we
wanna make
covered
sure.
that at the CD committee. That is a typo. That document is correct in the far column. So
Okay.
2177 for the motion and any potential action is the correct amount.
Perfect. Okay, so now the question has been called. We're just voting on the amendment to remove the $8,000 item as stated by Councilmember Sunwall.
I thought that's what we did vote on. We're back to the
No,
main
we
motion.
voted on calling the question.
Oh.
So now we're voting on the amendment. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the amendment is carried. The $8,000 item is now removed. So we're back to just the two items remaining on the original motion. Any further discussion on those? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Any other reports for the Community Development Department?
No further report.
Finance and Administration Committee, any report? Oops, warrants.
I believe we
We got
should
the
talk
warrants, sorry.
Warrants, and is Agenda Bill 456?
That's a public safety one. The fireworks one is a public safety one.
The surplusing property?
That was on consent.
That was consent.
That left on consent, okay.
So if you could just,
All right, let's go to the warrants.
just say
Nothing other
approve.
than move to approve the warrants as presented in the agenda. May I have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve, motion and a second to approve the warrants as stated in the agenda package. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on any of these items prior to action? All right. Is there any discussion, council? I'll go to the chair of the Finance Administration Committee first.
So we discussed these in F&A. Councilmember Shepherd had 3 questions. We have subsequently valid questions, which, there could be better explanation on the warrants on some of this material and get rid of the questions. But based on email traffic subsequent to the meeting, we have moved to go ahead and approve the warrants as submitted.
Okay. Any further discussion, council? Councilmember Shepherd?
So again, thank you for the answers we got this week, but still concerned about some of the questions that are still outstanding.
Call the question.
Second.
All right, question's been called. All those in favor of calling the question?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, question has been called. Back to the original motion of the warrants. All those in favor of approving the warrants?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
All right, motion has been passed. Warrants are approved. All right, back to reports. Any other reports for Finance Administration Committee?
No, I will wait till Committee of the Whole for further discussions.
Okay, Public Safety Committee. I'm going to have to bounce back up to the top here again to, Agenda Bill 19053, fireworks stand permit for J&M. This is the one that's using the old IGA parking lot.
believe the chair is not here tonight. Who was
I'm going to do it. I just need to
Okay.
get to it. For SMC 8.30.030C, the fire chief shall submit an application to council to approve to allow retail sales of fireworks to be sold within the city limits. J&M LLC has applied for the fireworks stand permit and will sell fireworks from June 28th to July 4th on the IGA's parking lot at 7730 Center Boulevard. The fire chief has reviewed the application and found it to be complete and in compliance with all requirements of the state statute and regulations. Move to approve fireworks permit for J&M LLC.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 19053 as stated by Councilmember Jeans. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, is there any discussion, Council? Councilmember Jeans.
They've been doing this for several years. As far as I can recall, they've done it without complaints, with compliance with the law. And this is simply doing it again this year. They filed the proper application, entitled to be approved.
Councilmember Lissay. I'm sorry, Councilmember Shepherd, then Councilmember Lissay.
So the only reason I pulled this off is that we have not had historically any complaints from them selling the fireworks. But one thing that after we had our public safety meeting, I started to have some second thoughts after thinking about listening to concerns about fires that are going to be happening more often in Western Washington. And I'm just wondering, based on some of those concerns, should we be proactive as far as, thinking about how we're approaching, this 4th of July?
Sure. Mark Herrera, Fire Chief for the city. A few years ago, I would be a lot more concerned about this in 2014 and 15 until the law changed when the council adopted the fireworks ordinance. What they're selling basically up at the IGA and within the community, legal fireworks, which are novelty type fireworks. They're ground effect types fireworks. There's some cones and things like that, which have a much lower risk than some of the aerial types of fireworks that were being lit off within the city back in 2015 and before. The other thing is that generally weather patterns play into this as well. Right now, it doesn't appear, although we are having a dry season, it doesn't appear like we're going to have an extreme dry season like we had in 2015. If we do have that type of situation, we are going to combat that issue with public information warning using the PIO and communications department to get information out, which we'll be doing anyway. So at this point, not knowing what the weather is going to be like on July 4th and leading into July 4th, I'm less concerned about that, especially now with the ordinance in place.
Councilmember Lissay.
I want to clarify because I think it's, I respect your comment, but my understanding and my experience last year is that they are selling Class C fireworks at the fireworks stand. And there are several Class C fireworks that also are aerial in nature, that mortar shells, bottle rockets that are of the Class C category, many of which are banned by our fireworks ordinance. So it's not just ground effects that they're selling in that stand and have been selling for the last 2 years since the ordinance went into effect.
So I don't believe that's actually accurate. So Class C fireworks actually ranges from everything from like what is required in the city up towards mortar shells and things like that. The law that's been established now in the city is that it's limited to novelty types of fireworks and ground effect fireworks. They are only selling legal fireworks. We actually go up and inspect the building and we walk through it. I make periodic stops in just to make sure that they're actually selling them to people that are 16 years and over, just to make sure that those issues aren't happening. So, and they're connected with their distributor that they get their fireworks from, has a copy of our ordinance, and they only distribute what is legal in the city.
Well, I personally myself bought a 12-pack of mortar shells from that fireworks stand last year, so maybe there needs to be some rechecks on that for this coming year, and make sure that they're aware that that's the requirement and the ability to be compliant.
Certainly.
Yeah, our gravest concern has been, and there's still quite a bit of that activity because we can't control what's being sold on the tribal reservations either. And there's a lot of that material coming from there. Councilmember Sunwell?
So does that mean that we're going to find Councilmember Lissay right here, or is that?
I didn't want to bring that up, but thank you.
I mean, we have all the necessary authorities in the room, so.
What I heard is,
we talked about enforcement.
the meeting.
what I heard is he wanted under.
He had speeding ticket a while back, so it's okay.
Point of order, Mr. Lissay.
I heard he wanted undercover
Councilman Lissay did not say he
operations,
launched.
keep an eye on the mixture.
Yeah.
What's that, Councilman Hawley?
Point of order, Councilman Lissay did not say that he launched. He
Fireworks.
merely purchased.
He was just testing.
It's illegal to actually be in possession of illegal fireworks. That out.
For the record, I am no longer in possession of any fireworks.
Yeah. So, and like the mayor said, we have a lot of challenges around here, although they can sell the legal types of fireworks up on the ridge. Our bigger challenge is we have the tribe right behind us that sells everything from bottle rockets to mortar shells to all that stuff. And in North Bend, it has a different regulation as well. So people have the ability to go over there and purchase those. That's why law enforcement was out in patrol quite a bit. We were out on the fire department. We've got some ideas of how we're going to handle it this year to continue to quell those types of behaviors to make sure that they're following the rules.
All right, Councilmember Mayhew?
Just to be clear, the ordinance, excuse me, what are we passing? The permit only permits them to sell fireworks that are legal in the city of Snoqualmie. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, the municipal code actually dictates what they're allowed to sell, and then this permit forces them to comply with the municipal code.
And we provide him with that information, so. Or they're well aware of that, or what that is. All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We're making good time. We're kind of coming to the seventh inning stretch, so if you guys want to get up and just stretch and move around a little bit, feel free to do that, but you're doing great hanging in there so far. Now it's going to get to an exciting item on Agenda Bill 19052, Police Department Narcotics K-9 Unit.
The police department.
Don't worry, students, there's not a canine in the room right now, so we're all good.
I'm just happy they stayed. That's pretty good. The police department wishes to implement a narcotics detection canine program. This will increase the number of drug arrests, enhance community safety, and promote officer longevity. Move to approve, well, actually, that's just for introduction.
No, this is for approval tonight. This isn't approving a K-9 program. It's just giving an indication if the majority council says, yeah, we think there's a lot of merits to this program. We want you guys to invest more time into fleshing it out and come back with an actual proposal. So
I'll start over. Move to approve the implementation of narcotics canine authorization, the mayor to sign.
Second.
okay, motion and a second is stated by Agenda Bill, to approve Agenda Bill 19052 is stated by Councilmember James. Councilmember Sunwell.
So it looks like we stole some boilerplate on the recommended motion, because I'm not sure what you're signing, and there's no implementation going on. I think the recommended motion is actually that the police department further investigate the concept of having a narcotics K-9 unit, and there's nothing to sign. Am I incorrect in that?
All right. Officer Fishbecker, I don't know who did this language, Chief, because this is a little confusing or ambiguous. I know what you stated, this is what your understanding is.
I'm not sure who actually did it, if Captain Nomquist did or not, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Blame somebody that's not here.
Here.
I think I'm very,
I can explain.
very encouraging of the
exactly.
clarification in the language. So if you could state that again as an amendment, Councilmember.
I would amend the motion to read, and Jody's writing down, move to approve the further investigation of the move to approve the viability of a narcotics K-9 program in the city of Snoqualmie.
Yeah, she's just faking it. She just listens to the tape and writes,
Second.
All right. Motion a second to amend as stated by Councilmember Sunwell. Any discussion, council?
Could we have that read back?
No, because then I got to remember what I said.
I don't think you said it right.
What did I say, Jody? No, just prove you're not faking it.
Move to further
Move to explore the viability of a narcotics K-9 program in the city of Snoqualmie.
and further investigate.
Well, that's what they do anyway, but if they want to investigate it too, they can. that better?
It was a verb problem. You guys all saw it, right? Yeah. They heard it too.
Second, again.
It's been motioned and seconded. So
Coach, not a
any
teacher.
discussion, council?
Don't you hang out at the school?
I coach, I'm not a
Discussion on
teacher.
the, discussion on the amendment. Councilmember Shepherd. This is on the amendment only, just discussion on the amended language.
Oh, yeah.
All right, all those in favor of the amended language?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're back to the original motion with the amended language. Any discussion, council? I'm sorry, is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this part of action? And since you don't know a lot about it, you can just make it really, make it sound really super exciting, and then we'll take it from there. But, all right, council, any discussion? Or you want these guys to queue up a little bit of explanation first? I know the members of the public safety have heard it. Chief, go ahead, Officer Fishbeck.
Good evening. Apologize that it took a while just to get the summary statement gone through, but basically what we're asking for is for us to have the ability to take implementing a canine narcotics dog in this community. It's increase the level for service, and that's what basically we're asking for. We're asking for the ability to increase our level of service to this community and as well as North Bend if in fact we implement it the way that we're looking for. The bottom line is that we would have this resource and it would not impact our budget because we do not have a budget. And in fact, biennial budget does not include this. And so in our research that we've conducted over the last few months, we believe that we would have the ability to actually obtain a trained canine handler and everything that is required to have a canine narcotics trained dog in this community without impacting the budget. It would be supported through a nonprofit 601 or 501c3 organization, and then also donations through different vendors. And that's what will be coming before you when we do have that all in place. So we're, like was said earlier, we're basically just wanting to make sure that the council would approve us to have this level of service increase and this resource to deal with an issue that we have in our community. In fact, it's in every community. And why do we need this? Why do we need this? In fact, that question was asked on a couple of the presentations that I did in front of the Public Safety Committee. And in fact, this weekend, we had a car stop where we had to call a canine narcotics trained dog to do a search of the vehicle, and ultimately a search warrant was obtained and there was heroin found in the car. We do find narcotics in this community. I don't want to say that we have a problem that's so out of control. This is a beautiful community, but I want to keep it that way. Our focus is not necessarily on the suppression aspect, although we are going to be doing suppression. It's a three-prong approach, and our main focus is education. Education, just the fact that we're bringing this before you tonight, we're talking about the issue of drugs. We're talking about that there is a problem out there, and how do we address it? And it's going to start from the kids going to elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and also the adult community. Whoever we come in contact with, this dog, it'll bring up that discussion because, as you know, with Phoebe, when you bring a dog into the discussion, people want to talk. People want to come up and say hi and so forth. And it gives us that opportunity, that interaction, to really start educating the community on what our issues here are. So we've got a three-prong approach, and I've dealt with the education component, and detection is the second part of it, and suppression is the third, and I talked a little bit about that. I think it's an effective resource to have in this community. Right now, we do not have any way of dealing with this issue except for calling for a canine narcotics trained dog from out of the area, King County or State Patrol. And if they're available, they may be in Seattle. And to be honest with you, we're not going to wait 30 minutes, I don't believe that's right anyway, for them to respond to assist us in that. If they're close, we can utilize them. So just to have the availability of a dog in this valley will help this valley. And if anybody's been looking around and been around, you know that there is some problems in this community that have to be dealt with, and I just want a resource to be able to do that. So Officer Fishbeck is the one. He's been doing a tremendous amount of work on this. He's got a passion for this. I thought I have a passion. I do have a passion for this, but he also has a great passion for this, and he's done a lot of work. So if you have any questions, I think he may be able to answer some of it. He really did a lot of the research on the needs in this community and some of the specific drug data and so forth. he may be able to effectively answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, just to add, no, they won't admit it, but like Phoebe, I think the other benefit here is just serves as a bit of a therapy dog for the police department too. But, yeah.
If it gets us our dog, that's good with me. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Any questions? Actually, did I open it up to the public on this? Oh, I did, okay, yeah. Go ahead, Council. Any further discussion and questions? Councilmember Shepherd.
I was just thinking if Officer Fishbeck could talk to us about, I've heard you talk about the dog, but I thought it was pretty cool, you know, all the different aspects about the dog, like the type of dog that you're looking for and what kind of, how would the dog indicate when they're noticing that there's something amiss and things like that.
So the type of the dog is really important. Like we said, that we have the three-pronged approach. The most important prong is education. So if we buy a German Shepherd or we buy a Rottweiler, or we buy one of those other dogs that may do their job just fine, it's not going to be approachable. So we're looking at maybe a Shepherd or a Pointer or a Spaniel, something that's going to be approachable to young kids that's not by itself scary, right? Just by the fact I'm wearing a uniform, that puts a little barrier in between me and younger kids. So we'd like to be able to bridge that gap, to be able to have that conversation, maybe not even talk to a first or second grader about drugs, but maybe bring up well, my dog works really hard, what's he do? He's a drug dog. Ask your mom about it, right? To build that conversation. So the types of drugs that this dog is going to be trained to find is methamphetamine, heroin, and cocaine. Those are per se illegal drugs. You cannot have them. Now there are issues with opioid type prescription pills or marijuana or other things. The dog will not be trained to find those because those are legal for some people to possess by prescription, or if you're old enough to possess marijuana or something like that. The dog itself is not going to be trained to be clawing at cars, to be causing property damage. It's trained to detect the odor of narcotics and then sit. So that was kind of an issue when we were thinking about liability. How do we get around that? Because we all see the movies and the dogs tearing up the car. The dogs in Washington State, especially from the places we're looking at, are not trained to do that. And they're also trained to be the sporting breeds like the labs, the retrievers, that are more friendly with kids or more friendly in crowds. And that's also something we'd like to do as part of our outreach, is bring it to railroad days, bring it up to the community park, bring it up to all these other places to be able to showcase it to the kids and start that conversation.
So just so the students here know, I was joking a little bit earlier, to fill you in on what Phoebe is, the fire department did a rather innovative program. It's one of the only ones on the West Coast where we do have a therapy dog, Phoebe, that lives in the fire station. First responders are folks that can be subjected to some pretty difficult and traumatizing issues themselves that they deal with, and that can pile up after a career of that. Firefighters and police officers have some of the highest suicide rates as they go into retirement. In fact, a couple of years ago, we did lose a former officer of ours to suicide. So my job as a mayor is to take care of my employees and the folks that work for our community. So as much as I'm kind of laughing about it, I take it dead seriously, the well-being of our folks. So I think it is a serious matter. I love that we're doing the therapy dog. That, the studies have shown that a dog in that station just kind of helps bring some of that tension down. The dog's trained to actually kind of sense that when to seek them out and be kind of a solace in those times. So I do think this has an element of that, although I kind of joke you guys won't admit it. But
It definitely does.
yeah. But so all the other benefits on top of that. So anyway, any other discussion on this item, Council? All right. Again, this is to say, hey, we're encouraged by what we hear and would like you to go forward and research it further and bring back an agenda, build, execute a program. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Officer Fishbeck.
This could be a record.
All right. Any other report for Public Safety Committee, Bob?
There was something that the chairperson, Catherine Ross, wanted me to mention to the council. That's something that's coming up. We had a presentation at the last committee meeting, and the presentation was about wildlands operations. Historically, we've got these forest fires east of the mountains where it's dry, and people say, well, west of the mountains it's wet. We probably don't have a danger of wildfires around here. But that's not the case anymore, and so we're going to be subjected to some real exposures with respect to wildfires, and especially in our own community, because there is wilderness that is just out the back door of several of our homes. So this is coming up through the fire department. They have specialized people on our fire department who are trained to address, to fight those kinds of fires, and we lend them out. It'd be nice if we would have more resources and more officers with the specialized training. So you will probably see in the months to come something relative to that from the fire department with respect to a need that this community has.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Jeans. With that, we will move on to Committee of the Whole, and we have a discussion item, the Town Hall Ad Hoc Committee. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll turn that over to you to queue up the discussion.
Thank you. So, last council meeting, the ad hoc committee, I believe most of our opinions will be, came with a recommendation to have a council town hall meeting around the city hall. The community center, I'm sorry. Just for confirmation, I would like members of the council to raise your hand if you are of the opinion that during the last council meeting, that recommendation was informally accepted, that we all agreed as a body to accept having a city town hall meeting in regards to community center.
Can I ask a clarification question?
Yeah.
You're saying, did we agree to hold it?
To hold the meeting.
To hold the meeting with that topic?
You may be
on it?
opposed to the
Not that we
topic.
agreed to it.
Right.
That we agreed to hold the meeting with that topic.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please raise your hands. Okay. What transpired post that meeting was opposition to that direction, to the extent that many of the council, the mayor, the administration, and the facilitator felt they could not move forward with the city hall meeting in the fashion as advised. Subsequent to that, the mayor, feeling an obligation to the community and concurrence with several of the council members, has called a mayor town hall meeting to solicit input from the community on options for expansion of the community center. That's on June 9th up on, at the elementary school. In discussions of that meeting, the facilitator asked me about council participation. Given the events to date, I requested that council participation be passive and listening at the meeting to come. Further, I asked for a show of hands from the council that if you attend the meeting, you can participate in a passive listening manner, not sitting at the tables for discussion and not trying to influence those discussions, but listening to the discussion coming from the community. Please raise your hands if you can do that.
I won't be there, but yeah.
Okay? So we've level set ourselves on expectations of the next meeting. Now, I'd ask that you raise your hands if you feel that we should still have an activity, particularly an ad hoc committee of some form, to do further discussions and planning in regards to community engagement on behalf of the city council.
You looking for a hand?
Looking for hands. Should we continue looking at community engagement activities?
Oh, so that wasn't the question you originally asked. Should we have, you asked, should we have an ad hoc committee to do that?
Well, okay, I will back up. Should we continue to have, should we continue to look at actions for community engagement on behalf of the council?
As an ad hoc committee.
Well, let's discuss how that happens next. But I just want, do we want to continue to look at community engagement?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. Given where we've come to date, I cannot recommend proceeding with a committee as constituted. I would recommend that there be an ad hoc committee, just because I think the other committees have full agendas. I would put forward that, Matt, you and I are pretty tied up in the jobs that pay our mortgages. Catherine Ross has a primary coming up, so I wouldn't pick on her. I would therefore in looking at the available members from there, I think Sean has the spirit and took this up to begin with. I think it'd be good to keep him engaged in the activity. Mr. Jeans is our elder statesman and has wisdom in the history of what has gone on before. And in discussions with Mr. Mayhew, he has agreed to actually support if we were to do a reconstituted ad hoc committee. So I would like to move to unassign current membership of the ad hoc committee and assign the following council members to an ad hoc committee focused on council community engagement. Those members being Councilmember Sunwald, Councilmember Mayhew, and Councilmember Jeans. May I have a second?
Second.
And from there, we can get into discussion. Or we can move right into it.
Councilmember Hollowood, do you want to continue chairing this portion of the discussion, or you want me to take
Oh,
over?
I can do it? Okay. Is there any discussion? Councilman Lissay.
I've said this before, and I just want to make sure I repeat it, and someone I'm sure will go to the tape and say I said it differently. But I am 100% in favor of finding additional ways at which we can have community outreach with the citizens of Snoqualmie. Find ways at which we can bridge the gap between information and knowledge, and find ways at which we can connect with those that want to be a part of what we do and how we provide services to the city. All that being said, I think the challenge with the previous ad hoc committee was it came across as being, it was formulated to find ways to increase transparency, and what it really did was find ways to schedule city town halls or council town halls. I would like to encourage this ad hoc committee to not fall into that trap again, to not move just to figure out how to do town halls, but let's talk about ways at which we can increase transparency. Let's talk about ways at which we can engage the community. If a town hall happens to come about because of that, because this this council has decided in previous actions that that's important to do those quarterly, continue to do that. But don't forget the real mission of the ad hoc committee, which is to increase transparency and find ways to bridge that gap between what we are doing and what people are saying they want. That being said, that's my opinion.
John?
So that's duly noted. If I can restate what I think you're saying is a town hall meeting might be one tactic in a larger strategy of how we as a council can be more transparent and have opportunities. And yes, transparency, but even perhaps more importantly, opportunities to engage more directly with the public than the Robert's rules of whatever dictate in a meeting of this setting where it's anything but interactive, not because we don't want it to be, because that's just how it has to be. So I understand that and understand how we got to where we got, and also how to not get there again.
If I can, I really do think if we're going down this path, the new committee, really first step ought to be basically, forgive me because I'm going to say buzzwords and I hate doing it, but define the mission statement, come back and talk to us about what the committee will and won't do on our behalf. And let's have that discussion of if the committee comes back and says, we're going to schedule town hall meetings and that's it, we can have a discussion of, no, we really want you to look at more things. But let's have that discussion to scope this activity out. Mr. Jeans?
So I appreciate what Matt Lissay has to say, and I agree with him 100%. And this will give us an opportunity to take a fresh look at what we started working on. We started working late and we were behind the eight ball on timing in the past. Let's not get into that situation. But I agree with all that's said.
Any further discussion? Councilor Mayhew?
Now I'm just I was trying to write down our little to-do list and I got confused. So I would just say, in my view, this is, to me, it's simple. I want to have more interaction with residents. And sometimes residents want to complain about something. That's fine. That's not the sole thing I want to communicate with them about. Sometimes we might be thinking about doing something complex or with a lot of background to fully understand why we're doing it or why we're considering doing it. So sometimes to have effective interaction with the residents, we need to explain some background to them about a topic and then seek their informed input to us about what their priorities are. So I guess I just want to be clear, are we being asked to go and think about all of those things that I just listed, or are we just being asked to set up complaint sessions, which seems to be where all this went wrong? What are we, because when I hear engagement, so when I hear transparency, I don't understand that. I guess if we're meeting in public and we're saying what we're doing, that's transparent. I'm not sure what that's a word for in this conversation. I think it's about engagement, which means trying to get informed engagement. So what's on residents' mind that we don't know about? But residents here, like I'm repeating myself, but here are things we're thinking about that are complex. We'd like to get your input on it. So we need to give them some information and then ask for their input. Are we talking about all of that, or are we just talking about complaint sessions?
So if I may, I do not think we were talking about complaint sessions, but I think we are talking about this new ad hoc committee leading us into the conversation of what is community engagement, what are the facets of community engagement, what are the things we can look at, okay? So I won't presume for us to prescribe tonight what that means or what that don't. You three get together, have a discussion, come back.
Did you say what that don't?
What that don't.
Okay.
I said what that don't.
Yeah. So I think, not that I'm in a hurry, but I think we can probably close this if we can just, I think we come back with a charter that may get ripped to shreds or may be agreed with whole, part and parcel, right? But I think the three of us go away from this assuming broad approval, as long as we have to go, I'll count to 4 again today. And then we come back and we can have conversations offline about what we think that might look like and whether it's, but I think we just need to come up with a charter first and make sure we're all on the same page there, and then we can go dig into what the tactics are or not.
Hey, Councilman Shepherd?
So I think there's so many different topics that would be great if we could get deep dive on citizen engagement. And for instance, the shoreline management program, that would be great to have a number of meetings and get input from residents about how they feel about that. Also, the comprehensive plan and homeless and affordable housing. And so I think that I would love to see more meetings. And I know that, you know, when you're a council member, you just don't have the bandwidth to go to a whole lot of meetings. But I think it would be ideal if we could have some focus meetings as well as meetings that are determined by people who just, they've got some hot button they wanted to share. So that's just my input. I'd like to see both kinds of meetings.
Councilman Lissay?
So I have a question that may lead to an additional comment, but I would like to ask Councilmember Shepherd if she's in support of the change.
Of which change?
The change in the committee members for the ad hoc committee.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, then I have no other questions.
Okay. With that, do you want me to repeat the motion, or you're good with having heard it before? Good? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll leave it up to you guys to pick a time and date of your meeting and your structure of committee. Thank you. With that, Mr. Mayor, I turn the meeting back over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We don't have any other items for committee of the whole, but I did want to open up. Did any of you have any questions, comments, or just observations you wanted to share before we wind up the meeting tonight? I'm impressed. Most of you stayed through the whole thing.
Do you guys need a note saying you actually
go ahead.
stayed? No? You need a note? Okay.
It's all recorded.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, that's our typical protocol. Make sure that whatever you say is captured on the tape.
Okay.
It's on video too, so you'll be famous.
Okay. Well, I guess this is just a question if I come to any other council meetings. Is it fine to ask for layman's terms? Because I found myself for a lot of them being like, what does this mean? You know, like in my head. So
Yeah.
I was just wondering if that was fine to ask.
We are steeped in city speak gobbledygook sometimes, so I was trying to, whenever we came by acronyms, to state what those are. But that's why I was kind of encouraging you guys to just raise your hand if you're going, what does that mean? If you're trying to, track the conversation. Is there any one or two that came to mind right off the hand that threw you? That you remember?
For everything.
Not that I can recall, but there were some times where it seemed a little heady or wordy, I guess, in
Yeah.
a sense.
We do it on purpose to sound smart when we aren't that smart.
We are wordy.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I'm sorry, could you state your name for the record too?
Anthony Pena?
Anthony, thanks.
And Anthony, by the way, Brian works at Boeing, so that explains kind of why that went that way for you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, last chance. Very good. Thanks again for coming. Hopefully it helps with your class. All right, any other announcements? We do have the SVGA dinner tomorrow night, so hopefully if you were able to make that, it's the Iron Duck in North Bend.
We have
Councilman
staff
Sim?
reports today?
I'm sorry?
Don't we have staff reports?
They're not, they're verbal second meeting of the month, but I was just going to do the round robin real quick to say.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Any other announcements for what else before we conclude? All right, so given that there are no written staff reports, are there any other questions from the staff tonight? Councilman Osei, did you have a question for some of the staff?
Oh, that's way too open-ended. I'm going to say no at this time.
Okay. Councilman
This will be easy. Dan, do we have any update from, help from WashDOT on repaving the parkway? And if not, when do you think that might come?
Through with our engineer. So pushing him today. He came back from getting married last week, so we're hoping we should have it this week.
Thank you.
And then once that happens, we'll meet with them. And then also, as long as I'm up here, let you guys know, Schuschman's going well for the school. So water main's going in and things are on schedule. I hope I did not just jinx that.
All right, thank you, Dan. One other event that's happening on Saturday is the Snoqualmie Muslim community always at Jeannie Hansen Park celebrates their iftar. It's the celebration of the end of Ramadan. And just before sundown, I think it's about 8:30 at Jeannie Hansen Park. They're gathering on Saturday, and they would love if any of you wanted to show up to that. It's open to the entire community.
I've been there a couple times. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a
Great
fun event. Yeah, it's a fun event because everybody's hungry and ready to eat. And they bring a pretty good feast. So, all right. Jody, any other comments or reports?
No report.
All right. Joan, anything to add? No. Robert? Chief Carrera? Mark? Chief? Bob? Okay, did I miss anybody? PJ's not there. Someone for IT, Jimmy? All right. And no other questions, council? All right. If that, and there's no further business coming before the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
By the way, this meeting's ended.